Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Gates channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now let's jump straight into today's exciting update. The week ahead on Beyond the Gates promises to deliver heartbreak, impossible choices, devastating consequences, and emotional confrontations that could permanently reshape the lives of several families. As the aftermath of the terrifying tornado continues to cast its shadow over everyone, the people of Fairmont Crest find themselves facing far more than damaged buildings and shattered routines. Lives now hang in the balance, old resentments threaten to become deadly obstacles, and long-buried emotions are about to explode into the open. At the center of it all stands a heartbreaking medical crisis that forces every member of the Richardson family to confront who they truly are when everything they value is placed on the line. Meanwhile, marriages are pushed to their breaking points, dangerous criminals inch closer to innocent victims, and redemption may come too late for someone desperately praying for a second chance. The biggest emotional battle of the week revolves around Kat Richardson, who suddenly finds herself carrying the weight of another person's life on her shoulders. Eva Thomas remains in critical condition after the tornado, and every passing hour pushes her closer to death. Doctors race against time, but medical skill alone will not be enough. Dr. Ted Richardson delivers the crushing reality to Leslie Thomas that Eva cannot survive without an organ transplant, and those devastating words hit like a tidal wave. Leslie, who has spent so much of her life manipulating others and refusing to accept responsibility, completely falls apart as she realizes there is nothing she can do to save her daughter on her own. Nearby, Isaiah Hawthorne is equally overwhelmed, unable to hide the fear that someone he loves could slip away forever despite everyone's desperate efforts. As panic spreads through the hospital, Kat arrives alongside Thomas Navarro, hoping for answers, but finding herself pulled into a nightmare she never imagined she would face. Ted turns to his daughter with heartbreaking desperation, pleading for her to be tested to see whether she could become Eva's donor. It is a request no father ever wants to make, especially knowing the emotional wounds that still divide his daughters. Kat has spent months refusing to acknowledge Ava as family, unable to forgive the betrayal and destruction that Leslie and Ava brought into her life. The mere possibility that she could become the only person capable of saving Ava fills her with anger, confusion, and resentment. Instead of embracing the idea, Kat openly admits that she does not want to be a match before walking away from her father, leaving Ted standing there with the crushing realization that medicine cannot heal the fractures inside his own family. The emotional pressure only intensifies as the week unfolds. Ted continues trying to reassure Kat while silently carrying the unbearable burden of knowing that his daughter's decision may determine whether another daughter lives or dies. At the same time, Kat's emotions spiral even further, and her anger eventually erupts toward Isaiah, who has become another reminder of everything she wishes had never happened. Every conversation seems to push Kat deeper into an impossible corner where neither choice feels survivable. If she agrees to donate, she saves the sister she never wanted and permanently changes her own life. If she refuses, Eva may die, and Kat will forever have to live with the knowledge that she possessed the power to stop it. No matter which path she chooses, nothing will ever be the same again. As Thursday arrives, hospital staff begin warning that time is running out for the patient clinging to life. The atmosphere becomes increasingly desperate as everyone searches for hope while watching precious minutes disappear. Chelsea Hamilton becomes a comforting voice for one of her cousins, offering support when emotions threaten to overwhelm them completely. Carlton Fitzgerald alerts Nicole Dupree Richardson about an urgent development that demands immediate attention, while Andre Richardson quietly offers his own support to Isaiah, recognizing that everyone is struggling beneath the crushing weight of uncertainty. The hospital corridors become filled with whispered prayers, anxious pacing, and silent tears as loved ones wait for news that could either save a family or destroy it forever. By Friday, the emotional stakes become even higher. Anita Dupree steps in to guide her granddaughter through one of the most difficult moral decisions of her life, knowing that wisdom and compassion may accomplish what pressure never could. Kat receives information that has the potential to change her future forever, while the Hawthorne family comes together in a heartfelt show of unity for someone they refuse to give up on. All signs seem to point toward one heartbreaking possibility. Despite every ounce of resistance inside her, Kat likely agrees to be tested, and the results reveal exactly what everyone feared and hoped for at the same time. She is a compatible donor for Ava. Instead of bringing relief, however, the discovery only deepens the emotional conflict because now the decision rests entirely in Kat's hands. For Kat, this is no simple medical procedure. It represents years of pain, betrayal, jealousy, and unresolved anger colliding into one impossible choice. She cannot forget how Eva's existence shattered the family she thought she knew, or how Leslie's actions turned her entire world upside down. Yet refusing to help would mean allowing another human being, someone who also shares Ted's blood, to die when she possesses the ability to prevent it. Anita and Chelsea are almost certain to remind Kat that doing the right thing is rarely easy, especially when forgiveness feels impossible. Tomas Navarro will likely encourage her to think carefully before making a decision that can never be undone, because once Ava is gone, there will be no second chances, no apologies, and no opportunity to reverse history. Deep inside, Kat also understands another painful truth. Losing Ava would devastate Ted in ways he might never recover from. Ironically, Ava's death would also eliminate the very problem Kat has struggled with ever since learning the truth. She would no longer have to share her father with the sister she never accepted, and the complicated family dynamic she despises would disappear forever. That temptation makes the decision even more emotionally disturbing because part of Kat has wished for exactly that outcome. If Leslie discovers that Kat is the one compatible donor refusing to help, there is little doubt she will lash out with every ounce of desperation she has left. The woman who has spent years manipulating situations in her favor may suddenly find herself powerless, forced to beg the very person she blames for standing between Eva and survival. What unfolds could become one of the most emotionally explosive confrontations the series has delivered in a long time. While Eva fights for every breath inside the hospital, another member of the Richardson family faces a completely different battle for survival. Martin Richardson becomes the latest victim of the tornado's devastating aftermath when he suddenly collapses, sending everyone around him into immediate action. Shanice, Ashley, and Jacob waste no time rushing to his side, desperately trying to help before the situation becomes even worse. Elsewhere, Nicole is left with the heartbreaking responsibility of updating Samantha Richardson and Terrell Richardson, both of whom can only wait helplessly for answers. The uncertainty surrounding Martin's condition spreads through the family like wildfire, replacing hope with growing fear that another unimaginable tragedy may already be unfolding. Tuesday brings even more devastating developments as Ted attempts to reassure Kat while the Richardson and Smith families receive news that leaves them emotionally shattered. Everything points toward Martin suffering injuries far more serious than anyone initially believed. Whether he has sustained a severe crush injury beneath the tornado debris or suffered a traumatic brain injury remains uncertain, but the outlook appears increasingly grim. The possibility that both Martin and Ava could be fighting for their lives at the same time creates an almost unbearable emotional burden for everyone connected to them. Instead of celebrating survival after the tornado, their loved ones now find themselves trapped in a cruel waiting game where every passing moment feels painfully endless. The spoiler describing devastating news for both the Richardsons and the Smiths strongly suggests that Martin's condition may be even worse than anyone wants to admit. Although the Smith family deeply cares about Eva, Martin is one of their own, making this crisis especially personal. If his injuries involve significant brain trauma, the consequences could extend far beyond the hospital walls. His political career, built through years of hard work and ambition, could disappear in an instant if permanent neurological damage changes his ability to lead. Such a tragedy would completely transform his family's future, forcing Martin into an entirely different life than the one he carefully built for himself. Rather than continuing his career in public office, he may eventually find himself becoming a stay-at-home father, while Bradley "Smitty" Smith takes on the role of primary provider, creating a powerful shift in the balance of their marriage after surviving unimaginable heartbreak. As one family struggles to hold on to hope inside the hospital, another emotional storm begins brewing around Leslie Thomas, a woman who has spent much of her life believing she could manipulate every situation to her advantage. This time, however, there are no schemes left to execute and no clever words capable of changing reality. After Eva's emergency surgery, Ted delivers the devastating truth that no mother ever wants to hear. Eva's survival now depends entirely on receiving a transplant, and without one, her chances of living continue to fade with every passing hour. Leslie's fierce determination crumbles beneath the crushing weight of those words, leaving behind only raw grief, uncontrollable tears, and the horrifying realization that she may be powerless to save the daughter she loves. For perhaps the first time in a very long while, the woman who always seemed to have an answer finds herself staring into complete helplessness. The emotional burden becomes even heavier because Leslie cannot stop replaying everything that has led to this heartbreaking moment. In the immediate aftermath of the tornado, while everyone searched desperately for Ava, Leslie confessed to Anita that perhaps this tragedy was karma finally catching up with her after years of manipulation, lies, obsession, and the pain she caused so many people. She wondered aloud whether the universe was finally demanding payment. Anita refused to let her sink into that way of thinking, firmly reminding Leslie that storms happen because nature is unpredictable, not because one person deserves punishment. She essentially told Leslie that the world does not revolve around her actions, no matter how guilty she may feel. Yet now, with Ava hovering between life and death, and a transplant becoming the only path toward survival, those earlier words become much harder for Leslie to believe. As hope begins slipping away, Leslie's guilt threatens to consume her entirely. She may become convinced that every terrible choice she ever made has somehow led directly to this hospital room and to her daughter's desperate condition. The situation becomes even more emotionally devastating if Kat ultimately proves to be the only compatible donor. Out of everyone in Fairmont Crest, the one person capable of saving Eva could be the same woman whose life Leslie helped turn upside down. Kat has every reason to hate both Leslie and Eva for the damage they caused to her family, making the possibility of receiving mercy seem almost impossible. Leslie suddenly finds herself trapped in the cruelest irony imaginable, forced to depend upon the compassion of someone she has spent years giving reasons to despise her. When Shanice extends an olive branch during the week, it may become one of the first genuine acts of kindness Leslie has experienced in quite some time. That simple gesture could remind her that forgiveness is still possible, even if she has not yet earned it. But whatever hope begins growing inside Leslie may prove heartbreakingly short-lived because Friday's spoilers warn that her good news is suddenly ripped away. Perhaps she learns that Kat is indeed a perfect donor match, allowing relief to flood over her for one brief, glorious moment. Then reality comes crashing back down when she discovers that Kat has no intention of going through with the donation. In an instant, hope transforms back into despair, leaving Leslie more desperate than she has ever been before. Faced with losing Eva forever, Leslie may begin bargaining with everyone she can think of. She may fall to her knees and plead with God, promising to become a different person if only Eva can be spared. She could beg Nicole for compassion, plead with Ted for another solution, and even humble herself before Kat, despite knowing how much resentment stands between them. Leslie may promise to stop the construction project that has been causing Anita endless frustration, finally abandon her relentless obsession with Ted, leave Nicole alone once and for all, and end the manipulative behavior that has defined so much of her life. Every promise she makes would come from a place of genuine desperation rather than calculation, creating what could become the closest thing Leslie has ever experienced to true redemption. But redemption often demands a painful price, and the terrifying possibility remains that Leslie's transformation may come too late to save the person she treasures most. While life and death decisions unfold inside the hospital, another relationship begins collapsing under the weight of betrayal. Andre Richardson and Dani Dupree have been building a future together, but one impulsive decision made during the chaos of the tornado may destroy everything they believed they had. Monday's events revisit the frightening hours when Haley Lawson talks to Bill Hamilton about being trapped while the tornado raged outside. She admits she would have completely panicked if she had been isolated during such a terrifying disaster and naturally wonders how Bill managed to pass the time. What she does not realize is that Bill was not alone with his thoughts. Instead, he crossed a line that neither he nor Dani can simply erase. Inside that stalled elevator, surrounded by fear and convinced they might never make it out alive, Bill and Dani allowed years of complicated history to overwhelm their judgment. Their emotional vulnerability turned into physical intimacy, creating a moment that neither of them can take back no matter how much they wish they could. What may have begun as a desperate attempt to distract themselves from impending death has now become a devastating secret capable of destroying multiple lives. As the immediate danger of the tornado fades into memory, the consequences of that single decision begin taking center stage. Survival may have saved their lives, but it also guaranteed they would eventually have to face the emotional wreckage left behind. By Tuesday, the guilt becomes almost unbearable for Dani. Every conversation with Andre reminds her of the secret she is hiding from the man who trusts her completely. Andre speaks with sincere concern, imagining how terrified Dani must have been while trapped alone inside the elevator, completely unaware that she was not alone at all. Those innocent words cut deeper than any accusation ever could because they expose just how much faith Andre still has in his wife. At the same time, Vanessa begins asking the difficult questions Dani has desperately been trying to avoid, wondering whether she intends to tell Andre what really happened with Bill. The pressure continues building until silence itself becomes almost impossible to maintain. The tension escalates dramatically as Thursday arrives, bringing Dani face to face with Bill once again. Whatever conversation unfolds between them is almost certain to be emotionally charged, filled with regret, blame, and uncertainty about what comes next. Then Friday delivers the confrontation everyone has been anticipating when Andre and Bill finally stand opposite one another. Whether Andre learns the truth directly from Dani or Bill himself chooses to reveal it remains uncertain, but one thing feels increasingly inevitable. Secrets of this magnitude rarely stay buried forever, especially when guilt continues eating away at everyone involved. Once the truth comes into the light, there will be no way to repair the innocence that has already been lost. A previous June spoiler hinted that one couple would go to extreme lengths, triggering consequences equally extreme, and everything now points toward Bill and Dani being that couple. Their impulsive decision inside the elevator may have seemed insignificant compared to the deadly tornado surrounding them, but its impact could prove far more destructive than the storm itself. Dani risks losing the husband she genuinely loves, while Bill may discover that his already fragile marriage to Haley has reached its breaking point. Bill could interpret what happened as proof that he belongs with Dani, convincing himself it is finally time to end things with Haley and pursue the woman he never truly stopped loving. Dani, however, has already chosen her future with Andre, making Bill's renewed hopes little more than another complication in an already impossible situation. Andre's heartbreak could become one of the week's most emotionally devastating moments. Learning that the woman he loves sought comfort in the arms of her ex-husband, even under extraordinary circumstances, may be more than he can forgive. Rather than exploding in anger, Andre may quietly decide that the pain is simply too great to endure. He could walk away from Dani and return to the apartment he has continued keeping, creating both physical and emotional distance while trying to process the betrayal. Sometimes silence carries more pain than shouting ever could, and Andre's decision to leave may communicate exactly how deeply Dani's actions have wounded him. The marriage that once appeared so promising could suddenly find itself hanging by the thinnest of threads. Meanwhile, Haley may reach a breaking point of her own if she discovers Bill's betrayal. Already struggling with insecurity and instability, she could conclude that Bill intends to leave her for Dani once again. That realization may push Haley into dangerously unpredictable territory. The horrifying possibility even emerges that she might decide the only way to prevent Bill from abandoning her is to eliminate him altogether, perhaps by pouring an entire vial of poison into his bourbon. If that dark possibility becomes reality, Bill's reckless decision inside the elevator may trigger consequences far beyond a broken marriage, placing his very life in unimaginable danger. As if the week were not already filled with enough emotional upheaval, another dangerous presence quietly steps into Fairmont Crest. Joey's sister, Heather, finally makes her long-awaited arrival, setting the stage for a storyline filled with suspense and hidden menace. Tuesday's spoilers simply announce that Joey receives a visit from his sister, but beneath that seemingly harmless reunion lies a terrifying secret. Vanessa McBride has become increasingly invested in Joey's life and genuinely wants the people he loves to become part of her world as well. She sees the possibility of family, connection, and stability, unaware that Joey has deliberately hidden the darkest truth about Heather from her. He has never warned Vanessa that his sister is the infamous impaler, a woman whose reputation is built upon violence, bloodshed, and criminal brutality. Heather has no intention of disappearing quietly after arriving. In fact, everything suggests she plans to stay in town while continuing the criminal activities that have already made her so dangerous. If she decides to approach Vanessa on her own, Vanessa will have absolutely no reason to suspect the threat standing in front of her. She would likely greet Heather warmly, invite her to sit down at the club, in Joey's apartment, or wherever they happen to meet, eager to learn more about the woman Joey has spoken so little about. Vanessa's natural kindness and trust could become the very qualities that place her directly in harm's way. The audience, however, will know exactly how much danger is hiding behind Heather's polite smile, creating an atmosphere thick with suspense every time the two women share the same room. For Joey, that possibility may become his greatest nightmare. He loves his sister, but he understands better than anyone else just how unpredictable and lethal Heather truly is. While Vanessa has begun accepting certain aspects of Joey's criminal world, there remains an enormous difference between bending the rules and embracing the horrifying violence that follows Heather wherever she goes. Joey has worked hard to keep Vanessa insulated from that blood-soaked reality, hoping she would never have to witness the darkest side of his family's business. If Heather ignores those boundaries and inserts herself directly into Vanessa's life, Joey may finally find himself forced to choose between loyalty to his sister and protecting the woman he loves. And if Heather ever threatens Vanessa in any way, that choice may become heartbreakingly simple. Blood may bind Joey to his sister, but love has a way of redefining even the strongest family loyalties, setting the stage for a dangerous confrontation that could change both of their lives forever.